this moment in time, you're currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't have to say anything,
but I haven't made off.
You don't mention one question in the little line. Oh, anything you do is significant evidence.
But I haven't made off, though.
For your arrest is your confident factual investigation.
Welcome to Rate the Encounters, where police power meets public accountability.
This episode is brought to you by I Spy Audits. Be sure to check the link below, subscribe to his channel, and give him the credit he deserves. In this episode, Auditor I Spy stops at a BP petrol station to fill up and attempts to pay with a $20 coin issued by the Royal Mint, legal tender in the UK. But instead of a straightforward transaction, staff refuse to accept it, call the police, and what should have remained a civil matter quickly escalates. Officers arrive, and rather than de-escalating the situation, they intensify it, arresting I Spy.
Coin.
Never seen them in my life.
So it's from the Royal Mint, so the same place that all legal tender comes from.
Have you got any other means of payment at the minute?
I don't know. Can I ask why you didn't tell me before you started recording?
So when we go to any incident, our tour of duty and our police protocol is to video every incident we go to achieve the best evidence.
But you've got to notify the person, or the first available opportunity.
No, we don't.
You do?
Yes, please. Have you got that from somewhere? Have you read that up somewhere? Or?
Yes, your policy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. At the minute, we're obviously videoing everything because we've been called to an incident. Immediate response where there's some ongoing issue with payment, whether it's a domestic...
999?
Well, that's what's coming as, yeah.
Wow.
Well, we just didn't know what was happening. There was an altercation in the shop, so we've arrived on that instance. Are you going to give me your name?
I'm not, no.
Right, okay. Because is there a reason for that?
Because it's a civil matter, and it's not something that the police can get involved in.
To a degree, you're right. It is a civil matter. But we can deal with it a different way, but obviously, ultimately, you haven't paid for your fuel.
From the moment she arrives, the officer demonstrates how unprepared she is for the situation. The auditor immediately notices her body-worn camera and asks why she has not declared its use. Guidance is clear. Officers must inform members of the public that they are recording at the earliest opportunity. Instead of acknowledging this, she flatly denies that such a requirement exists. Her next move is equally flawed. She presses the auditor for his name, despite this not being a criminal matter. It is a civil dispute between him and the petrol station. There is no lawful basis to demand identification where no offense has been committed. The officer either did not understand this or chose to ignore it, both of which are unacceptable for someone in uniform.
I have.
But they're not accepting that money.
But that's up to them to accept it. If they decline...
They've obviously run the post office and they've declined that. Ultimately, it's a civil issue, but if you're not willing to give us your details, then how do we know that you're going to resolve the civil issue at a later date? If you're happy to give us your details, then we can look at the civil issue at a later date.
But that's a civil issue. That's nothing for the police to get involved in.
We don't know your details, do we? So you could technically escape from here and never come back and never deal with that issue. Then you'd be circulated as wanted for that, won't you? If they can offer without payment.
That's not a police issue at the minute.
It is. It is a police issue because you've not paid for fuel. So there's still an offence there of that you've not paid for your fuel.
But I have paid. I've given them.
But you've given them this coin, yeah, which ultimately they've spilt to the post office and they've decided that it's not a reasonable amount of payment for your fuel. So at the minute we're sort of hands are tied, yeah. Agree with you on a certain instance of that, but we still need a solution today, whether we take your details and we deal with it at a late date.
By her own admission, the officer confirms it is a civil dispute, yet then attempts to manufacture a power to demand identification under the pretext of resolving it later. That is not how policing works. If there is no suspected offense, there is no authority to compel personal details. She cannot transform a private payment disagreement into a police-enforced ID check simply because the retailer is dissatisfied. When she claims the auditor could be circulated as wanted, it is nothing more than a bluff. Wanted markers apply to criminal matters, suspects, warrants, or failures to appear, not civil contract disputes. Threatening a criminal designation to coerce compliance is a misuse of authority and a clear indication that she had no lawful footing to begin with. If she genuinely believed a crime had occurred, she would need to establish the elements: dishonesty, making off, and intent to avoid payment. In this case, the auditor remained on site, attempted to pay, and disputed the method of payment, firmly within civil territory.
So basically, he's trying to pay with this. They've run the post office and said that it doesn't really exist. You can't pay with that.
No.
He obviously won't give us our details. I've explained to him to a degree it's a civil matter. However, if he does make off and he doesn't give us our details, we're struggling for any sort of civil issue at a later date. Any details for making off without payment. Yeah. So I've explained if he does give us his details and we know where he is and we can contact him at a later date, hopefully this issue can get resolved. No. He's obviously not really wanting to do that at the minute.
Because it's a civil issue and it's nothing for the police to get involved in.
But you're still going to make off, aren't you? Technically without payment. But if we can get your details...
But I have paid.
But you haven't...
And it is their policy to accept the £20 coin.
Has he paid?
Policy? No, he hasn't.
Right, if you haven't paid and if you walk out the door now...
They've still got the money though.
Just let me finish. If you walk out that door now, you are liable for an arrest because we don't have your details.
But you don't need them.
Well, I do
because it's a civil issue.
But it's not, because a make off without payment is then a police matter.
The second officer arrives and immediately makes the situation worse, resorting straight to threats of arrest. This is entirely unjustified. The auditor remains inside the premises, making no attempt to leave, and is openly disputing the payment. There is no making off without payment because he has not left, and there is certainly no intent to avoid paying. What further undermines the threat is the fact that the auditor had already attempted to pay using a $20 Royal Mint coin, which the cashier refused. That alone dismantles any suggestion of avoiding payment. Under the Theft Act 1978, both the act of leaving and the intent to evade payment must be present. Neither applies here. By attempting to reframe the situation as a criminal matter simply because she failed to obtain his details, the officer exposes a fundamental lack of understanding.
So if you walk out that door now, if you walk out that door now, you'll be getting arrested for make off without payment.
But there is an agreement with BP that the coin can be used.
Is there any other way that you can pay? Because we're going to sit here for hours arguing. I've been quite respectful to you. I appreciate you have to a degree, and I appreciate that from yourself. You haven't been argumentative with me, and I appreciate that you've been a normal human being. However, we need
I don't intend to. No,
I appreciate
if you can pay for the fuel now by other means, then that's fair enough. It'll be the end of the matter.
Or if you can give us your details and we can deal with it at a slower time, we can offer you that. But if you're not willing to do either any, then we're struggling with what we have left to do.
Because we can't let you walk out that door without paying. But
we don't know where you live. You might not even be from around here. I'm not saying you are, but you know what I mean. We have people where they'll make off and then they won't give us our details, and then we're going to struggle. I'm still going to have that £20 of fuel, unfortunately, with this BP garage outstanding.
Which car is it?
Well, I have paid for the fuel.
But you haven't paid. Which one?
Right, we're going round in circles, aren't we?
We are, unfortunately. Yeah. We've reasoned with you now, and we've tried to say that if he gives you details, tell you where they live, we'll deal with it slow time. However, you then leave. You don't have your details, you don't know where you live, you could live in London for all we know, and then there's still this making off without payment because they will not accept this as payment.
But I don't have to identify for a civil issue.
It technically isn't a civil issue though, is it, when you leave and you don't pay? You haven't paid for your fuel. We've got the payment here, which isn't acceptable, so really you haven't paid at the minute.
The entire exchange is built on a false premise. The officers repeatedly warn, if you leave, as though the auditor is about to run off without paying. But that moment never arises. He remains in the store, continues to engage, and has already attempted payment using a Royal Mint coin. They are not responding to his actual behavior. They are reacting to a hypothetical scenario of their own making. That is not law. It is fiction. The claim that they could not confirm his identity without forcing him to provide ID is equally weak. His vehicle registration plate is outside, a lawful and immediate means of establishing details if they genuinely believed it necessary. Instead, they ignore that option and persist with demands they have no authority to enforce, escalating a civil disagreement into grounds for arrest. They are not resolving the situation, they are inflating it.
Well, I have, because I've handed the coin over. So I haven't got that in my possession, and I've contacted BP head office before coming here.
Right, so was that today then, or?
No.
So when was that then? So you've contacted BP head office before you've come in?
Correct.
Right, so did you contact them today, or was it yesterday, or last week, or?
It's not up to me to say that.
How's it money?
Do you understand what the £20 coin is?
No, that's why I'm confused.
Well, why are you threatening me for arrest then, if you don't know?
Because it's not money.
It is.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. At the end
You don't know that. It is. It's
Right.
legal tender, the same as a £20 note and a £10 note.
Right, and who did you speak to from the the BP garage, the manager?
It's a Royal Mint who issued that £20 coin.
Right.
So it's the same money as any other money.
If you get someone on the phone to me who you've spoken to earlier, then we could kind of end the matter here, can't we?
But if it's a civil
you're not
issue, I
holding-
don't need
But
to
at the minute
assist you.
at the minute we don't know it's a civil matter.
I don't need to assist you in a civil issue.
But you do, because it then turns into a police matter because we don't know that coin.
The auditor had already gone beyond what was required by pointing out that BP itself recognizes the coin as valid. That should have resolved the matter. Instead, the officer attempts to shift responsibility onto him, insisting that he must contact BP directly or it becomes a police issue. This is entirely unreasonable. He has no legal obligation to assist in that manner, and refusing to do so does not create a criminal offense. The role of the police is to assess facts and apply the law, not to place the burden of proof onto a citizen. Her follow-up statement, "We don't recognize that coin," further weakens her position. A $20 Royal Mint coin is legal tender. If the officers do not recognize it, that reflects a lack of knowledge on their part, not a fault on the auditors.
But if
You're
there's a civil
running the risk of
agreement,
being arrested because you haven't given us the details, and you're going to walk out that door, and it's technically a failure to pay.
but then it'll be a
Make off
civil.
without payment.
But then I'll sue you.
Well, that's
So,
fine. If you want to sue us, that's fine.
unlawful
But
arrest.
like I said, we've been honest with you in terms of which way we can go. The staff here have been very honest, okay? And all I'm saying
Well, he
is, if you
hasn't.
get the person on the phone who you spoke to earlier with the agreement, then that could be the end of the matter. But
you
as
know-
far as I do, then technically, if you walk out the door, there's going to be a make or without payment.
He's already accepted to take it.
You haven't accepted to take it. No, haven't accepted to take it. You walk out that door, becomes a criminal matter, and you get arrested for make off without payment.
Or you give us your details.
You're refusing to give us your
From there.
details, and we don't know that vehicle is yours because you're not.
But I've told you
Is it urgent?
that he said he would take the coin
But he isn't now, is
if
he?
I take my mask off.
Right, well, I wasn't here for that, so we have no witnesses, unfortunately, other than you and him. Right now, I can't view that.
Body camera.
But right now, I can't view that. At the end of the day, you've come in, you've paid for you've got your fuel, you've come in. This isn't a payable matter. Once you leave, we've offered you to give us your details and deal with it that way. For all I know, that vehicle could be registered to somebody else and lived in London. And how are we ever going to trace you?
But I
So
don't
once
need
you
to
leave
assist
this
you.
situation, it is making off without payment. I can't be any more reasonable with you and give you some sort of options that we can go
But I
with.
don't
You're
need
still
to assist
refusing
you.
to. Are you offering to give
Because
the
you're wrong.
staff, not myself, not my colleague, the staff your name and contact number?
No.
Right, so we have one option but to lock you up then.
Well, I've got a civil agreement in the background.
Fine, you can
So-
prove that at court.
I've
You
got
prove
that.
that at court
That's
then.
fine. You can prove that
Yeah.
at court.
Right, well, this moment in time, I'm currently under arrest for making off without payment. You don't
But I
have to
haven't-
say anything,
but I haven't made off.
defense. We don't mention one questions and maybe later line. Oh, anything you do is maybe give evidence.
But I haven't made off
Nothing
though.
for your arrest is recorded in factual investigation. Okay?
But I haven't made off.
You're in caution still.
And due to the fact you failed to provide details.
But I haven't made off.
Failed to provide details, yeah.
But I haven't made off.
Right, are we going to go calmly? Are we going to go quietly?
We would go calmly all the time.
Okay, well, do you want to walk with us then?
Of course.
Thank you. Just come with me, sir, please. Have you got anything in your pockets that's going to harm me or you? Just take them out. It's just a question we
Thank
ask
you very much.
everybody.
Can we just take your camera off as well, please?
This is the point where the situation shifts from incompetence into outright abuse of authority. The officers arrest the auditor for making off without payment while he is still inside the store, clearly stating, "I haven't made off." That statement alone should have brought the matter to an immediate conclusion. The offense requires an individual to leave without paying. He had not left, had made no attempt to leave, and had stated this explicitly. Despite this, the officers proceed with the arrest. From a legal standpoint, it is indefensible. The Theft Act outlines two essential elements: the act of leaving and the intent to permanently avoid payment. Neither is present. The auditor had already offered a valid form of payment and remained engaged in the dispute. The alleged offense simply did not exist, and the officers were fully aware of that. Now, Auditor Spy provides an update on his claim.